I spent some time with the new weapon proficiency beta for Guild Wars 2. I have a few thoughts, and I want to break it down per class because I think some of these absolutely knocked it out of the park, and I think that some of these were just fine. I don't think necessarily any of them were bad. Some of them blew me away with how much fun I was having, and some of them were just kind of there. So let's start from the top of the list that ArenaNet gave when it came to their public release notes about this. The Guardian pistol, both main and offhand, is kind of cool. It didn't blow me away, but I really like the offhand version of it, the 4 and the 5. Pistol 5 is super cool with a large rune that pops up as it charges up. The only problem being that when trying to use it, oftentimes I found myself getting interrupted. So it's a great opener, or it's great for if you stun an enemy. I could easily see myself running sword pistol on Willbender, especially in PvP. Be able to try and get that big rune off just for the fun of it and how much damage it does. It would be a blast. The rest of the abilities are fine. I like the beam on Pistol 2 and the rapid shots from Pistol 4 are really cool, but ultimately the pistols didn't super win me over here. I didn't love the sound effects on them. They felt a little too chunky, and I just didn't love the way they felt or the way they sounded. However, I still plan on running pistol offhand with my Willbender, as I mentioned a minute ago. For Revenant, with the Scepter in the main hand, I absolutely loved it. Scepter main hand for Herald is what I wound up putting it on. Probably going to be my main hand weapon of choice for Herald. I really liked those abilities. I love the 2 ability where it drops a little bomb that follows the enemy and that gets stronger if you land auto hits on it, auto attacks. I love the tether that if you get up to 6 stacks allows you to pull them to you, and the fact that it also has allied versions where you're able to buff allies or yourself. I really, really like Scepter, and that's not even the fact of how cool it looks and how good the sound is and how good the animations are. Scepter main hand for Revenant was absolutely incredible, and I got probably the most footage of it as I was running around and just fighting Harathi and Keswick's Hills, and absolute blast. I love Scepter. I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels, and I can't wait to have access to this on my main Herald that I use oftentimes in PvP, but sometimes in World v World, and sometimes I'll run it as a Renegade in World v World. I don't know how well Scepter's going to do there, but I think on Herald and Vindicator, it is really a blast to use, and I'm stoked for that. Staff on Warrior was also an absolute joy, especially on Berserker. I really loved the way that the Staff 3 on Warrior allowed you to charge in and almost had like a drill effect on it. I love the block with Staff 5 that allows you to deflect projectiles, and then you get the big roar that you can use to be able to buff your allies. It's a really fun support weapon, while also having really nice animations. Felt good to use. It was the kind of weapon that I could see myself doing a whole build around now. Oftentimes when I play Warrior, I play Spellbreakers. Breaker is my favorite spec for Warrior. Used to be Bladesworn, but Spellbreaker won me over. Now I'm kind of feeling like switching over to a support Berserker or a support Bladesworn and using a staff to be able to really try and benefit the team. I liked this a lot more than I thought I was going to, and it's currently my second favorite weapon out of the entire set, under Scepter. Engineer Shortbow is interesting. I like it a lot. I think that dropping down the mines, firing the arrows and them hitting the ground and then being able to chain reaction off of each other is really cool. I like that some of them are support and some of them are enemy focused. And I like that some of them are both. And so situationally, you can use them to be able to benefit yourself or the team even better. I love the basic attacks with it. I think the basic attacks with the short bow are really, really fun. Ultimately, it's not a weapon that I'm going to change my engineer around for. Engineer is my main. With switching between Mechanist, Scrapper, and Hollowsmith, I have a hard time sticking to any one, and I switch between the 3 on the fly. But I don't think I'll be switching to maining Shortbow, but I do think it could be really fun to run Shortbow Scrapper and be incredibly support focused. I think that could be a really fun build to play around, and it also did a surprising amount of damage. I really enjoyed my time with the Shortbow on Engineer. Ranger with Mace, and this is another weapon that I could easily see myself switching to over my current run. For Ranger, I use Untamed, and I really like the hammer on Untamed. I love the big swirly swing. And then the second set of weapons that I use is Sword, Axe, main hand, offhand. And although I love Axe 5, and it's the main reason that I do that, I do think the maces are probably going to replace that main hand, offhand mace. Mostly because I love the synergy that it has. The gift that you get from building up the different nature's gift by doing the different attacks, building up to 5 stacks and getting big, and then smashing with mace 5, it feels really, really good. And the ambush attack from Untamed is pretty solid. I don't think it's quite as fun as the big spin, but it's a really nice piercing line AoE that I like quite a bit. I really enjoyed my time with mace, and it's nice just to have a weapon that feels big smashy. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to Donkey Kong slam this guy, down BM until he is done. And I really, really enjoyed it. I know I keep saying stuff like that, but ultimately for me, what I wanted out of this beta was a different experience with the different professions, a different thing that I could do with different specs. And so far, I think all of them has succeeded in that way. Yes, with Guardian, I really only wanted to use an offhand pistol in my Willbender, but theoretically, I could use double pistols with Dragon Hunter and lay traps and try to use it that way. With Revenant with the Scepter, with Warrior with the Staff, and with Engineer with the Short Bow, it opens up different ways that I could play a class that I already really like playing. And I think that Mace on the Ranger doesn't open up as much as some of the others might, but it does mean that I can play a kind of more support-focused Untamed, or I can just keep going Unga Bunga Smash with my Untamed like I'm already doing and have a really good time. I could see some really damaging combos coming out of this with Soul Beast. I don't really play Soul Beast all that much. I don't hate Soul Beast thing. It's just I like Untamed more. I like that back and forth of switching between the buff being on my pet and the buff being on me. And for Druid, I could see maces being a really good backup weapon. Or, hey, I've got my staff. Here's the mace as well. But ultimately, I really liked the mace on Untamed, and it was a blast to play around with it. Axe on Thief. Main hand Axe on Thief was cool. You're basically Talon from League of Legends. Everybody's probably going to make that reference, and that's basically how it works. You throw out your axe blades, you have your 1 and your 2. Your 1 throws out 1, your 2 throws out 3, and when you press 3, you bring them all back to you. This is not anything that is like super crazy. It doesn't have a bunch of extra effects on top of that, but it's really fun to do. It's nice to see the axes flying back, and there is some fun maneuvering you can do of moving around an enemy and then using your 3 to teleport, to shadow step, I guess. And when you do, all of the axes come back. It feels really good, and you can do some fun stuff aiming wise. I think it probably will replace main hand Scepter for me. When I'm playing Spectre, I don't play Spectre a lot on my Thief. I mainly play Daredevil and Deadeye. I don't expect it's going to take the place of Deadeye Rifle or Daggers, but it could be fun to play around with on there. And for Daredevil, I can absolutely see some fun shenanigans of jumping around more and using the axes. I was a little sad to see that since the axes remain when you throw them, if you throw them at max range, the axe doesn't do damage as it continuously sits there. But it's fine. The main goal is to get the axes back through the target again. And I think for AoE, a Daredevil or a Spectre that is running main hand axe could do some serious damage. Elementalist pistol is next, and I think it was cool, right? It's fine. I don't think it's anywhere near as fancy as some of the other weapons that have been added here, but it does have some fun effects. The extra, like, explosion of fire that you get from Fire Attunement with it is really nice. Water Attunement with it is actually really fun, and I think that it's probably the attunement if you want a good main hand DPS weapon for a support build. Not a bad choice, honestly, especially because if you're running Tempest, you could run main hand pistol, offhand Warhorn, and get a really fun playstyle there for water. I think the lightning air attunement is kind of terrible. I get what they're going for, building up the air charge and then being able to dash through the enemy, but it just doesn't do as much damage as even the water attunement did. And I just didn't like the basic shot all that much. I didn't like the 2 ability all that much. It was fine, but it was nowhere near as fun as the other 3. And then the Earth attunement had some really cool stuff to it. The rubble that could be kicked up from the shots was really nice and had some fun AoE to it. And ultimately, the pistol was absolutely fine. I can see myself using it in some places, but I'm probably going to stick to Sword, Warhorn for most of my Elementalist builds. Mesmer Rifle is kind of in that same place where Mesmer Rifle has some really fun support capabilities, and I could see myself using it on a Chronomancer, but that's probably about where it's going to stop for me. Mesmer is my least played class out of all of them, so maybe I'm just very wrong here. But although the support abilities of it were really fun, being able to shield allies and being able to do different things with that, I thought that the 4 ability just being make another clone that takes 1 shot, 2 shots, and then it's gone, wasn't great. And then the fact that the 3 ability and the 5 ability can both be detonated either on you or on your enemies is cool, or on your allies, to be able to buff or hurt them. That's nice. And the 5 ability making like a temporary portal that allies can use to teleport back to you, that's nifty. I really like that. I love the big 2 bomb that comes down from above. I just don't love that basic attack. I don't think it feels very good. I don't think it sounds very great. I don't love that sound at all. And I wanted something more snappy, I guess, especially out of a support weapon. If I'm going to be using a big, heavy weapon, I want it to hit really hard, and I don't feel like Mesmer Rifle was doing that, probably because it's more support-focused. So in that case, let it feel fast and frenetic, I guess. I don't know. This is probably just a me thing. Let me know in the comments if you very much disagree with this. I just didn't find the actual damage part of it fun at all, even though I think the utility is pretty good with Mesmer Rifle. We round this all off with Necromancer Sword, main hand, offhand. And I really like Necromancer Sword. I play a lot of Reaper because I like a big tanky Necromancer that has a huge sword and can do cool Beyblade stuff. And this doesn't have Beyblades, but it has everything else. The native lifesteal that's built into main hand, offhand sword is really, really cool. And add that into the fact that multiple of the abilities, 2, 4, and 5, all have secondary uses you can use that drain your own health to be able to do another effect, is really, really fun. It makes for a divisive back and forth play style with just the weapons alone that you then staple on to Reaper or to Harbinger or to Scourge, and it gives you a ton more options. For Harbinger, you can use more of your concoctions to be able to take more damage yourself, more blight onto yourself, because you're passively healing from your regular attacks. For Scourge, you're gonna be tankier, and for Reaper, you're gonna be tankier. But especially for Scourge or Reaper, where you have the shields that you can throw out with the Sandshades with Scourge, or you have your Reaper Shroud that you can go into. You can do the same with Harbinger as well, I suppose, but it makes it really fun in my mind to be able to play with that. Hey, I'm spending HP to be able to do this attack. I'm going to get HP back from my basic attacks or from any other attack that I use. I need to be cautious here in how I use it. And I can absolutely see myself running Scourge with twin swords, or running main hand sword, offhand torch, or something like that. And there's a lot of fun things that I think are going to come from Necromancer with the swords. I really am looking forward to running Reaper, Great Sword, Sword. Out of all of them, the one that I enjoyed the most was definitely the Scepter in Revenant. Followed up by Staff on Warrior, probably Swords on Necromancer, and then Maces on Ranger, Axe on Thief, and then Engineer Shortbow, probably Guardian Pistol, Mesmer Rifle, Elementalist Pistol, if I had to rank them. I feel like there are many uses, edge cases for all of them, right? Different builds that you can use, but that's just my personal list based on my own enjoyment. Your enjoyment obviously is going to vary, and I'm really curious what your thoughts are in the comment section down below, mostly because I think this is going to be very divisive. I think that some people are going to love the weapons I didn't love all that much, and others are going to hate the ones that I really had a good time with. Let me know your thoughts down below, and until next time, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that Guild Wars 2 has to offer.